This is the Extensionists, Conversations with Great Thinkers in Agriculture. I'm Toban Dyck.
And I'm Jay Whetter.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Toban. Hey, I waited you out there. I was waiting for you to say, hey, Toban first.
Yeah, I know. I wondered about that. I wasn't going to give you a lot of time until I jump in.
Right on. So you want to talk to me about running in the cold?
I do. So this last weekend.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, this last weekend. So it's one of those things. You're sitting in the couch and you're like, I think Jamie, my wife, and I just watched a YouTube video. We watch a lot of YouTube videos of people who do triathlons and ultra running and all that kind of stuff. So we watched this video. It always inspires us. So I'm like, what kind of events are happening, in the near future? So this is like December, November. I'm like, oh, there's this thing called Beat the Cold Triathlon at the end of January 31st, at the Forks, in winter outside, and it's running, biking, and skating are the three sports.
Not swimming, thank goodness.
Not swimming. So we're like, if I sign up, so you sign up in the warmth of your living room, and it's like months away, so you feel good, right? So then January 31st comes, which is I don't know when this is going to air, but comes, and it's cold.
Yeah.
It is cold. We drove in, and there was like the winds. It got warm that day, but the day started at. It was minus 34 with wind chill that day, and it was insanely windy. So when it was a 5K bike, 5K run, 5K bike, 5K swim. No, swim.
Skate. Yeah.
Skate. So that was the run was along the Assiniboine River. So somewhat out of the wind, but the skate and the bike were along the red. And it was a south wind, and it was an incredibly strong, cold south wind. And that was insane.
Well, was it windy enough that you could just, like, when you're skating back,
so
you could just like let yourself get pushed by the wind?
So people, it was dangerous.
Oh, really?
The wind was that strong that when you're skating back with wind, people were like, they were worried because they were
going too fast.
Way too fast. You're just like a sail, and you were just and of course it's on the river trail, right? So there's these deep cracks every once in a while. You really have to be cognizant of where you're skating.
Yeah.
And I bit it.
Oh, you did?
I totally bit it.
Have you got bruises to show for it?
I got a bruise on my butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun. That was it was a kind of a beat the cold. You do feel like you kind of beat the cold when you do stuff like that.
Well, I didn't do anything close to that, but I did go outside on a minus 38 day.
What'd you do?
Well, I bundled up and I walked probably almost 5K, but I'll walk. So whoop-de ding dong. I put on as many layers. I put probably 5 layers on my top and 3 or 4 layers on my legs.
Yeah.
And then I had this neck thing that my son uses for ice fishing. Yeah. That you can pull it right up over your nose.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's one of those like long stretchy things.
Does it breathe?
Well, it doesn't. It can fog up my glasses if I. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad I did that. And I was bundled up enough that I really actually didn't notice it. And it was the day started off as minus 38, but it was minus 33 when I was walking. But it wasn't windy. And that's so key.
It is.
So you had terrible wind, and it was not windy, and I didn't feel that cold.
Still though, so we knew it was windy, right? Yeah. So in the morning when we're packing up, we're like, how do we dress for this event? And I feel like as Manitobans, like as people who live here, like we know we have winter. We know it's like 9 times out of 10, it gets insanely cold for a spell in winter. Why do we have such a hard time with it? Where like I do feel like there are some countries who that embrace winter and feel like are just more kind of comfortable with it than we are. Yeah. And why not? Because we dress for it, we were fine.
Well, we probably have the cold. Like we are in one of the coldest places on Earth, except for Antarctica and maybe the middle of Siberia.
Right.
So we are quite cold.
We are, but I mean,
like we're going to talk to Steve Larocque shortly.
Clothing tech has come a long way.
It has. Yeah.
We can dress
for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's easier to dress for the cold than for extreme heat.
This is true. But you are eager to segue into the episode.
Well, I'm getting there. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Weather is a popular topic. But anyway, Steve Larocque, who we are going to interview today, so we're cold here in Winkler, and he is well above zero in the middle of Alberta. on to Steve. Do you like what you're hearing and want to support the Extensionists? If you are an agriculture company or association looking for a powerful way to get your message in front of Canadian farmers, then partner with us. Our listeners are farmers from coast to coast.
When you advertise with us, your brand isn't just another commercial break. It becomes part of our story. Ads on the Extensionists are personal and trusted. Our listeners value what they hear on the podcast.
Whether you're looking for a 60-second ad somewhere throughout the podcast, or even an exclusive episode sponsorship, we have options that will work for you.
So if you're ready to get your message out there and connect with farmers across Canada, let's talk. Visit theextensionists.com for more information.
All right, let's get on with this. We've got Steve Larocque, and Steve is the owner and president of Beyond Agronomy in Three Hills, Alberta. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Toban. Hey, Jay. How are you?
Good. Welcome here.
Good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here. I'm excited.
So we're going to talk
We are too.
We're going to talk at some point about Nuffield Scholarship and controlled traffic farming, which is both two things that are near and dear to your heart. But we're gonna go back in time and to your early days. So you're in Alberta now, but you grew up in the Ottawa Valley area. What was your childhood like? Were you on a farm, or what were you doing when you were in those foundational years?
Those right back in the 70s and 80s, those foundational years where parents were parents and they didn't know where their kids were. So yeah, growing up in the Ottawa Valley, it was kind of bush country, a lot of dairy around. I didn't grow up on a farm, farms all around. So small town, smallest town was maybe 3 miles away, about 300 people. And so that would be just south of Ottawa. So a place called Greeley. I guess Greeley is where we would send our mail to, but played hockey in Metcalfe, through my childhood, and went to school near a place called Manotick, which was the opposite direction, but it was a local high school. They kind of built in a field to, build it and they will come. So you had people from all over the place come to one high school near Manotick. And I moved to Alberta. I thought I was going to go work the rigs, I had the winter off. I'd been landscaping all my teenage years. So ran a landscaping, not a company, but I was kind of team lead, driving skid steer and equipment. And it came towards just before Christmas, around November. And I had a buddy who was working with me. He was from Westlock, so just north of Edmonton. And he says, why don't you come up with me for the winter and just check things out, maybe work the rigs, and then, and see where we go. So I said, okay, I'm up for an adventure. And turns out I really didn't aspire to work on the rigs once I got there. I mean, more power to them, but it just wasn't my jam. And so I did stick around, and I got a job with the Alberta Wheat Pool, of all places. And so that was in 96, because I could operate a skid steer. So they needed someone for their fertilizer bulk shed. So here I jump in, and we were doing about 13,000 tons a year out of that shed, and all through a bucket. So it was, so I could pick up a dime and run a skid steer in my sleep. But so from there I started field scouting. I was just keen. I always love the outdoors. I always love working with my hands. I mean, agriculture kind of gave me that same satisfaction where you start with either a blank slate beside a roadside or beside a house, where it's just black soil and nothing there. And when you're done, you've got sod, you've got trees, you've got a deck, you've got interlocking brick. So there's a start and a finish. And I was given the opportunity to go farm with some friends just north of Westlock. And it was an old box drill, like a 15-foot box drill. I helped calibrate it, which wasn't that complicated. It was oats underseeded to alfalfa. And I watched it come up in rows, and I thought it just drew me. I'm like, I'm hooked. I got to go farming. And from there on in, I actually had the chance to swath it and combine it. I watched the grasshoppers take it away, but then it grew back. So I kind of got a feel for what some of the risks were in agriculture. And I was deeply satisfied. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. But so from there, I worked at that Alberta Wheat Pool until like late 99, where I went to Olds College. I decided to go to college, and took the crop advisory diploma at Olds College. and then decided that wasn't enough, and I might have met a girl and went to University of Lethbridge. She might have been going there, and I thought I should get a Bachelor of Science degree too, and I did, and so that started that process where I finished up in 2002, about 2002, and then went to Cargill from there. So I ran their agronomy program. Well, first an agronomist, and ended up within a year or two running their agronomy program for Southern Alberta. Won a couple of awards and decided to leave and go on my own. So in 2000,
what did you win the awards for?
Yeah, like that, you glossing over the awards here.
Top agronomy manager. I more than exceeded budget, and we did really well.
Nice.
We got to go fly to Minneapolis and meet up with some great people there, and a great time. Private jet, did the whole bit. It was lots of fun. But I kind of always had the inkling that I'd have a business of my own at some point, and the agronomy services, because in Alberta specifically, they just removed their extensionists, right? They just removed the extension people. The provincial government decided that there'll be no more government extension. There will be, very little interaction between scientists and farmers. So that kind of left a void in the market for people to come in and provide agronomy advice. So we started to do that, through Cargill, and then I went on my own in 2006 and founded Beyond Agronomy. So I had 15 clients, which I have, I think, all of them today. So it's been over 20 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, since we started with most of my customers, and they've grown and their families and next generation. So it's been a ton of fun. So,
no doubt.
Steve, what puts the beyond agronomy?
We first named it because I love to connect. I'm a connector by nature, so I always had the desire to bring good people around good people. Okay, where do you need a hand? Who do I need to connect you with, right? Because I'm not the accountant, I'm not the lawyer, I'm not the land deal guy, I'm not the real estate agent. So wherever it is that you need help, not the grain marketing advice, I'm an agronomist, and that's my skill set. So Beyond was just that. Bring in other skill sets and surround people with those skill sets and form a team, essentially, wherever those needs are. So that was the impetus behind Beyond. So Beyond became, as much as I was doing agronomy work, through my Nuffield travels, which we'll get into later, I really tapped into a lot of great people who did farm, and who better to learn from the people who are actually doing it and have learned the mistakes, and started to learn about land deals and different land deal structures and rental agreements and different ways of applying, nutrients and just new ways of looking at things. So it was a real eye-opener for me to travel around and meet all these new people, and I wanted to connect them. So I started to bring those people back to conferences, and so we had the Advanced Agronomy Conference for a while. I began writing a newsletter back when I think newsletters or blogs were starting to be cool back in 2008 or 9. So I wrote and sold an international newsletter, 46 issues a year, for about 11 years.
On agronomy.
Beyond Agronomy, Beyond Agronomy, The Spark. So I eventually named it The Spark. So we'd cover about 3 topics a week, and it was great because I was just what would you call it, curating ideas. So taking ideas from the cotton industry and the way they ban nitrogen, and trying to apply that to how we do things here, and banding between, say, 12-inch rows. So I take a lot of those ideas and just curate them, write about them, put my thoughts down, and then publish it. So that's ended in 2019. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So, but did you start it before you did the Nuffield?
Right during, like 2008. Excuse me. 2008 is when I applied, or 2007 is when I applied for my scholarship. 2008 is when I started to write. And it wasn't because of the Nuffield. It was because I wanted to connect and just inform my clients about what's going on and what I'm thinking about and what's new and exciting and what's not, that sort of thing. So that's
so you ended it in 2019. You said, do you ever think about going back to that newsletter model or restarting that thing?
Oh, I do all the time, but it is the time, right? And now, there's probably now more. Yeah, everyone has Substacks, and there's lots of opportunity to write again. And I think I will. I just not in this moment. There's some things I need to invest in, and one of those what doesn't allow the time to do that, because it takes a lot, as you know, even to do a podcast. I imagine just to put it all together, it takes a tremendous amount of time. So someday.
Yeah, and you were doing it all yourself. This was just you.
I was with my wife Vanessa. So Vanessa would edit my work whenever I handed it in to her. Bless her heart. Because it would be, it could be 5 o'clock on a Monday. It could be 1 a.m. on a Monday, and she would finish.
Yeah. My wife does the same. So for years, I was a columnist for like the National Post and the Grain News and Western Producer. Yeah. And she has read every single one of my columns.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We mirror. Nice.
Yeah. I like it.
Cool. Yeah.
So the Nuffield Scholarship, the whole process and what it means to agriculture is something we want to dig into a little bit. But Steve, how did you find out about it or encounter it? Or what was your first introduction?
Stumble across it or whatever.
You know what? Yeah. That's a great story. So there's a gentleman named Jeff Leeson. He works for Corteva now in a leadership position. But back then, in mid 2000s, he was my chem rep at a Balzac, just north of Calgary. And I was traveling to Brazil in 2006, late 2006. We were going on a trip, just a vacation with some friends, my wife and I. And Jeff gave me a book called Riding the Bus with Chickens. And so I took it on the plane, random. Happens to be an author from Manitoba, named Les Kletke. Yeah. And and he So he wrote that book, and I was just enamored by all these stories, like really random stories about where he would be visiting farms around the world. So he found himself in very precarious situations, and found himself like in feedlots that weren't necessarily cattle, but other pets in other places of the world. I thought, wow, what is this? And he had mentioned Nuffield in there, like he was a Nuffield Scholar. Mm-hmm. So I just looked up what's a Nuffield Scholar, and it happened to be at Nuffield Canada. I had no idea what Nuffield Canada was. So it said that they would give, I think it was at the time, $7,500 for you to travel the world, connect with their network, and go study a topic that's of interest to you. So I said, well, why not? I'll give it a go. So I applied, and I won. So, and the same year was another farmer from Manitoba, and that was Greg Braun. Bronzedale Farms. He's a dairy farm, but near Steinbeck. Sorry, Greg.
Okay.
Somewhere near there. So, so I applied and I won. And here was this opportunity to go travel the world, learn something new, and with a goal of bringing it back to Canada.
And when you applied, did you have an idea, like what your scholarship was going to like, or did you explore what your So we're going to get the controlled traffic thing. Was that something you came into with that idea, or was it something you discovered along the way?
My study topic originally was the art and science of precision agriculture, because you can imagine it's 2007. This is kind of on the cusp of, Farmer's Edge is just getting into the space. We were all doing a little bit of variable rate, and it was a real challenge. It was different, definitely hard to marry hardware and have things talk to one another. So I thought, well, I'd like to dig into this variable rate aspect. And I went to my CSC, which is a global gathering of all the scholars who are awarded that year. So you meet up with, at that time, it was between 60 and 70 Nuffield Scholars from around the world. Now it's about 80 to 90. Yeah, so you can imagine. So they select for people between the ages of 25 to 45, 50. But you find a lot of people in their 30s and 40s. So you put a bunch of curious, open-minded people who are ambitious in a room, and like really good things happen. So it's great conversations. It's always inspiring. You meet such good people. So when I got in the room, some of them were doing controlled traffic farming. So some of the farms we visited were doing controlled traffic farming. So, and that's a form of precision agriculture. In fact, it's an intense form of precision agriculture. You have to marry everything up to go in straight rows, which sounds simple, but not always. So I quickly shifted, asked permission, and quickly shifted my topic to controlled traffic farming. That was in 2008.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was it about controlled traffic farming that was appealing to you?
I think because I had visited at that time, I'd visited New Zealand and I visited Australia, and I saw, like, each time I've been to Australia, I don't know, 6 times, 7 times. And at that time I'd been there twice, once when it was like on fire and the next time when it was underwater. So you can imagine the extremes, and what they were telling me and what I was seeing in the field was that it was building resilience in their system because they could handle the droughts and they could handle the floods a lot better. So they could store moisture to access when it's dry, and they could store that moisture and get it away from the root zone when it was too wet. So it really helped balance out the extremes and performed really well. So their water use efficiencies were through the roof, and the nutrient use efficiencies were really high. So they could produce a lot of grain for a little bit of rain. So that was impressive to me. So I thought, well, you know what? We kind of do the same thing here. Maybe I won't speak for all of Western Canada, but being so close to the mountains, right? We're only 150 away from the Rockies, so we get a lot of turbulent weather, and we get floods and droughts quite often. So there's a lot of extreme weather events. It freezes every month. We get 6 inches of rain in a hailstorm, and then it's dry for 6 months. So I really wanted to figure out if we could find a system that could, build some resilience and help us through those floods and droughts or those drynesses.
And so how does the soil become more resilient under that controlled traffic? Is this a factor of compaction being a bigger deal than anyone really realizes?
Yeah, it is. After decades of equipment traffic, our soils are dense, and some more than others. So you can call it compaction. Whenever you think about compaction, a lot of times you go to the extreme, right? Like this hard brick that's just impenetrable. Whereas a lot of times it's just we can store a lot more water when you do stop driving over it randomly because we traffic so much. And if you look at the size of the equipment that rolls across our fields in the last 15 years, it's huge. So the pounds per square inch on our tires, even though they're lower pressure and higher sidewalls, higher thickness of sidewalls, you know what? They are able to carry a load better than they used to, but you're still, a combine full is overweight, like on the front axles, way overweight. So even with duals, triples, you're still well over. You're in the danger zone. So if you look at that kind of traffic over time, and we're typically traveling our fields when it's wet, under no tillage or no till systems. It's usually wet after the snow melts. We're right in there. So it's wet. It's wet during seeding. It's wet during spraying. And those are the 2 times where we have pretty heavy equipment across our fields. If you look at harvest, if it's dry, hey, great. When it's wet, you can leave some pretty permanent damage down there at depth when you get, and we've run into that. Even in our tram lines, we've made some pretty serious ruts, so pretty thankful they were concentrated. So it builds resilience by just opening up the pore spaces and allowing air to breathe. It's like adding condo space for biology to thrive, for oxygen to exist, water to exist, without things getting choked out.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I definitely want to come back to it, but the Nuffield Scholarship, being in ag, you hear about it all the time. You meet people who are Nuffield Scholars, and that word is used a lot. Is it so? Is it fairly academic? Is it so you have to travel quite a bit. Like when I hear the word scholar. So when I went to undergrad, I'd studied philosophy and politics at the University of Winnipeg.
Cool.
The big scholarship was like to be a Rhodes Scholar, right? So which is a big deal, and you gotta have like a GPA of perfect essentially, and then you're shortlisted, and you still might not make it. So when I hear Nuffield Scholar, I'm always triggered to think that way about it, and so there's an academic portion, there's a travel portion, there's a extension portion. Can you just talk a little bit about all that?
Absolutely. I mean, you could consider us Rhodes Scholar, but it's ROADS. We do hit a lot of roads.
I like that.
Sorry, folks. Yeah, you know what? It's really experiential. So the whole process, it's designed to help build leadership capacity in yourself, help to identify areas where you were weak or areas where you need to improve. It's designed to build capacity to help you understand just how much more you're capable of. I mean, surround yourself with 5 incredible individuals, right? Surround yourself with 70, put you all in a room, and that's who you hang out with for 2 years. You start to level up and level up. So the whole process, yes, it's a study topic. Yes, you are learning. And I think the biggest difference is really, or the biggest benefit is that you're learning from peers, right? So in agriculture, maybe everywhere, but I'll speak to agriculture. We learn best peer to peer. That's why I love the name of your show, Extensionists. I mean, that's what's missing today. We'll get into that, but that's what's missing today. So here you're learning from farmers, like farmer to farmer, farmer to agronomist, agronomist to farmer, ag entrepreneur, agribusiness professional. Like you're all in a room and you're learning from one another because we all face very similar challenges. So there's someone who's done controlled traffic farming somewhere else in the world. So I went to learn from them and I brought that information home. There's people who've done really good strategic plans and board governance structures for their own farms that have learn what to do and learn what not to do. And they generously pass all that information on to us. So you are required to write a paper. You are required to present your topic, which that's why just last week or the week before, we were in Victoria for our annual event where the outgoing scholars, the 2024 scholars, were presenting. So you have 2 years to complete this experiential, this experiential trip around the world where you connect with people and learn a specific topic that's important to you and important to Canadian agriculture. Because the whole point is to really build capacity in all of agriculture, because I don't think we do that very well. Like, where do farmers go to develop themselves right now? There's not many.
Go to their neighbor's farm or coffee shop or a trade show.
And that has a fit, right? That has a fit, but there's a big old world out there filled with a lot of great ideas and a lot of great people that you could bring in for new perspectives, because that's the whole point. I mean, there's nothing like travel to really introduce new perspectives and new ideas and really challenge your own preconceived notions about, what is real and what is possible. So,
I'm trying to think of a time where I've ever heard a Nuffield presentation. Have I? I think, and I was wondering, like, it almost makes me think of, how do we get that information and that experience out to more people? And you can tell me about some of the techniques you're using, but I just made me think we almost need a Nuffield kind of TED talk for agriculture, where we get together and we just hear it all in one place. And then totally. we could ask questions and dig deeper on some of these topics.
100%. We just had Story Brokers. They filmed our last 2 weeks ago. They filmed our outgoing scholars presentations. So we'll be filming it professionally and with great audio, and we'll be sending that out. So we're working on a communications plan. I mean, really, it has been left to the individual, left up to the scholar to disseminate the knowledge. That's the whole point. But we know we can do. There's always opportunity to do better, and maybe there is the likes of a TED talk.
Because I'm just thinking
you're really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the critique that a farmer in, say, Africa or Australia or China, I mean, it's too different to be useful. But those 80 to 90 people a year, it must be just generating some amazing information for farmers, that if we could access all of that as outsiders, non-Nuffield scholars. I mean, so you're talking about just the Canadian group that you recorded, right? Or was that the international one?
Yeah, so Nuffield International, I think it's .com.
Okay.
Yeah, Nuffield International hosts all of the international reports. So everybody's report. So every country, there's 16 countries total, and everybody's report is published on the Nuffield International website, where you can visit. And there's Nuffield.ca as well for our own.
These videos that you just did, Steve, but those were just the Canadians, or who was involved in that event?
These were just the Canadians, and Nuffield UK. I mean, not everybody films them, Sometimes they're just 20 minutes. Like the UK sends 25 people a year. So it's 25 presentations. You can imagine for a conference, giving everybody 20 minutes, giving everybody an hour. Yeah, it would be too long. So they're pretty quick summaries. And really it's about, where you went, what did you learn, what were your conclusions, and what were your recommendations? Because that's the whole point of this. I mean, what are the recommendations to, say, Canadian agriculture? So if you're going to do controlled traffic farming, what does it look like? Who did you learn from? What did you see? And what are your recommendations? That's,
What kind of things have you seen come out of these years of like Nuffield Scholars? Like, have these reports gotten the ear of government? Have they? I mean, been used to start companies? All the above?
Oh, absolutely. I wish I could show. I've got basically a little slide that I show of all the businesses that we have across Canada, for example. Never mind internationally, but absolutely. Because a lot of times you have individuals who are hungry to learn something, and a lot of times it's very applicable. They're not just going to study a topic that's, generic and interesting to know. A great example would be the 2024 scholars right now. They've just completed their report. They've just completed their presentation. One was looking into native prairie seed production. So native prairie seed production. Rennie Grills out of North Battleford. So his family has a native seed production facility, and now he's been to national or international seed banks. He's now hosting a national native prairie seed bank conference. He's bringing in people from around the world to help learn how to propagate our own native prairie seeds. So he's one that's doing great work. Tatum Claypool, she's Métis, and she works for FCC. She's now the lead, forgive me, Tatum, she's now the lead of the FCC finance team, just to work with the Indigenous farms and figuring out the business structure, because again, they don't, the people own the land, not an individual, so it makes it very hard to lend, and it's been really challenging. But she's leading the charge now, and she was able to learn from other Indigenous people from around the world and see what they're doing, and bring that home. Who else? So we've got Mark Brock. He's out of Ontario, and he studied farmer-to-farmer collaborations. Like, how do you work with each other, neighboring farms? And he's got a great kind of a local benchmarking group where they've done some amazing benchmarking together and formulated this amazing group where they can share information.
These all sound like amazing podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was thinking. We need that list.
If you want podcast material, I'll just give you alumni, because I could go on literally. Like, there's just so many that have done really good things and generated a business idea from the farm. Right now we have Jolene Noble. She's from Manitoba, forgive me. She's from Northern Alberta. Sorry about that. She's studying stacking enterprises on farms. So there's lots of conversation now around land expansion, right? Or expansion just by adding acres. Like, land's expensive, everything's difficult to expand. So what can you do differently as a farm? You've got children. Not all of them want to sit in a tractor seat or farm more. So how do you build enterprises on top of your farm or within your farm to help that, to help keep them at home and keep the farm growing, but just differently?
Oh, that's really interesting.
That'll be a really good topic. Yeah.
That one just started?
Yeah. That just started. Jolene. It'd be fun for you to follow along. I think Sherilyn Joey Nagel. Sherilyn?
Sure.
Yeah. She's a 25 scholar. So she's studying the impacts of renewable energy. So she's on farmland. So she's kind of looking at a couple angles to help direct policy. So when she finishes, I would trust that her information will help guide green energy policy on farms. So the do's and don'ts, and trying to make sure that everybody.
We know Craig Lester and like Matt McIntosh.
There you go.
Some of those guys. Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a lot of Nuffield scholars who would make excellent podcast guests.
Watch Craig's business grow. Watch Rural Scholar, right? So he just finished 2 years ago, didn't he? 25. last year. So it's exciting to watch his business grow. So he's just on fire right now, as you are.
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
Full of inspiration and ready to give her. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So this peer-to-peer thing, which you've mentioned a couple times, I mean, it's part of your own communications philosophy, but it also was that who did that one? That was that Mark Brock. But so what is, when it comes to extension and how to get an idea across to farmers, and you can use controlled traffic farming as an example because it's not something that everyone's going to be jumping into. Maybe there's some personal frustrations there in how, I mean, maybe around you in Alberta, there's some higher levels of adoption, but for all of its merits, adoption is lower. But how? Yeah. So how do you take a new idea like that and communicate it in a way that resonates?
Yeah, and it's been a really big topic of conversation lately. And Matt, Matt's I think some of the conclusions that Matt McIntosh was extension and the importance of extension. I mean, through government cuts, we've just pulled all the people that do the connecting, right? I mean, farmers will talk to one another at the coffee shop, or wherever, at an ag conference once in a while. But you really need someone with some, let's say, some domain knowledge, or to at least someone to connect those individuals, be they agronomists to agronomists or farmers to farmers. You really need an extension person. I don't know if there's any other way around it. I mean, you can provide all the newsletters you want, all the articles you want, all the podcasts, everything. It's all great information, but it rarely gets into action unless they see it being done. And the only way to do that is to actually show up to a farm, have a reason to show up to the farm or wherever, and see it with your own eyes. Just kick the tires and look at the drill setup, look at the row spacing, look at the openers and say, you know what, I can make this work. Otherwise, it's just conceptual, and that's hard to put into practice. That's why, whether it's controlled traffic farming or even no-till adoption, so reduced tillage linkages, if you remember them, out of Alberta, they did tremendous work. And they were actually a public-private partnership. We had Encana had funded them as well as the Alberta government, and other sources. But
the gas company or the power company, or what is it? Encana?
Oh, Encana was a gas company, big natural gas company. Forgive me.
Yeah.
They're a really large natural gas company. Late 90s, early 2000s, and they were what would you say? They were like the critical piece. They were the missing link to no-till adoption, because they held the events. They hosted. They had great people: Peter Gamache, Roger Andrzejczyk. There was a number of really good extensionists who brought farmers together. They would have a conference. They would have field days, and all of a sudden you could learn from people. You could go to the field, see the seed rows coming up, see the residue issues that were a challenge. See what sort of fertilizer regimes fit best when you were transitioning to no-till. And it was the extensionists that brought it to fruition, right? They were the ones. So without them, we're just talking, and it's great. I think that we need to get the information out there, but if you want action, you need extension people.
Yeah.
So you are an extension person. You're an agronomist, but
that's right.
In a lot of ways, I guess you could say agronomists are extension people.
Yep.
They need a lot of those same skills.
For sure. Yeah.
That's what is your favorite way or most effective way to talk to farmers? What works?
You know what? I think what's worked best for me is the fact that I do farm. I'm not a farmer, and I'll clarify that. I respect to all farmers. I do farm, and I have my own equipment. So really, that allows me the opportunity to go do the thing. Whether that's bolt on a new protein sensor on my combine to measure protein across the landscape and try to figure out how I manage nitrogen differently based on the maps, which I haven't figured out how to do yet. But when you start applying all these different ideas and showcasing, hey, come on out, we'll have a field day, or come on out to the farm and have a look. I've had lots of people come out to the farm. We grab a shovel, we look at my soil, and we say, wow, okay, that's that's really amazing. It's beautiful soil. And then we look at maybe neighboring fields that aren't under controlled traffic, just to give a comparison. So you really need, the best way I've found is just to do it, apply it, understand what I learned, or understand, the mechanisms behind why it's working, why I think it's working, and then bring people in. That's it. Especially when you bring in academics as well, because that's another thing we're missing.
Yeah,
we're missing the academics.
Yeah. It's like from the universities or the research centers or wherever.
Yeah.
I've brought up 4-H a number of times. They'll learn to do by doing. But I want to go back to your. You said you weren't a farmer, but you are farming. So why do you say you're not a farmer?
Why the distinction?
Well,
Because I don't farm. I don't farm much. Like right now, I'm down to like a half section, which is enough. 30-foot drill. It actually takes quite a long time. And by the time you get everything fixed and calibrated and ready to go, I'm almost done. So it's a bit frustrating. But so I get to do all.
That sounds like farming.
That sounds like farming. Yeah, exactly.
No, it sounds a lot like farming.
That's true.
But it's not my primary source of income, right? It's a good income, and it allows me to do some great things, a lot of fun things. But the risk isn't there, like a true farm who will make or break depending on the decisions that they make. I do them, and I can buffer that with my off-farm job, my agronomy business. So I'm always quick, because I have a lot of respect for my customers. Like my clients are dear friends. I've been working with them for a long time. I see what they do day in, day out, and I don't do that day in, day out. And that's maybe why I always qualify. Like I do farm, and I enjoy it, but it's respect to farmers. They can be under tremendous pressure, under a lot of risk. The day-to-day can be complicated and or not complicated, but complex anyways. Yeah.
So how often do you say you bring people in to your farm, and that is an effective way to extend information, which I completely agree with. I think that is that in-person kind of tactile approach is just very, very effective. How often do you do that? Is the first part of my question. The second part would be, do you have trouble getting people out?
You know what? I would say the last few years. It would be more international people coming through, that just who are interested. Not as many local. A few local. In fact, a few people from Manitoba have called, nice. Which is odd. Like I published my report like 15 years ago or more, and I'm still getting calls, and even from people in Manitoba, in the heavy clay, wet soil, which is fantastic. It's good to see my report still being read. Sometimes you feel like, okay, I've been around a while doing this, and it's great if you want to. It's if you don't want to. Is it hard to get people out? It is getting harder for sure. You really need to give them a good reason. Like you have to be doing something unique. I don't know if variety trials, you might get some people out, or different herbicide, different products. That doesn't tend to get people out. But when you start talking about iron, like taking your 8-wheeled 4-wheel drive and putting it on 4 wheels and welding rims together, and creating offset hitches and really doing some silly things, people are interested. Like, what are you doing? I want to see what you're doing, because it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to have something unique, like to really draw people in. People are busy, and you really have to give them a reason to want to come.
Should I be doing controlled traffic farming on my farm?
Does controlled traffic farming intrigue you?
There's very little that doesn't intrigue me. So yes.
Do you feel like you have a compaction issue, or do you see wheel tracks? Do you see issues with your soil draining? Maybe not.
Yeah, that is. More and more tile drainage is becoming, quite popular in our area for those reasons. So, is it a matter of, is that a Band-Aid to solution to something that should be more kind of like control? Should we be considering more other options as opposed to just
and
drainage?
that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and oftentimes I find myself leading people towards there. I'm not gonna anybody over the head to do controlled traffic. I mean, because it's a rigid system, right? There's a lot to learn there. There's some nuances in there that make it more challenging than random traffic, because you can just show up to a field and harvest the way you want or spray whichever you want. When you have rigid tram lines going in one direction, you're kind of limited. So I get that. At the same time, if it's what gets you out of bed, if you like to tweak, if you like to learn new things and try to always progress, it's whether you're doing regen, whether you're doing controlled traffic, whether you're doing variable rate, I mean, organic, whatever you want to do, as long as it gets you out of bed and learning, I think that's a great thing, because they can all be good things, and they can all be really bad for you too. You know what I mean? Like you can do a really poor job of controlled traffic farming. You can do a really poor job of organic farming. Same with regen, but they can also be really good. So I think
it's kind of like that. I like that idea of finding that thing that inspires you, and then good things will come from that.
Because you naturally want to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I like that.
Yeah.
This is just a fun little conversation I had with an engineer-minded person the other day, but he's a drones expert, and we were talking about application for drones in farming, and he was talking about tethered drones, so having it wired to the top of a tractor to give you better sight lines in all conditions. And then he also talked about sprayer drones tethered off the end of the boom, and so they would be wired for power and for product, but they would extend the width of your spraying area, and also could kind of zoom around and do spot spraying, but they're connected. I was like, well, this is amazing. I don't know whether that applies to controlled traffic, but it just reminded me of that.
Oh my goodness.
When you become a Nuffield Scholar, then you can take that on.
Well, what would I do a Nuffield Scholar on? That's a scholarship.
Tethering drones to fixed equipment. Okay. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that before either. You just dropped that one on us.
Nice.
Do we need to figure it out now? I got a whiteboard right behind me.
I guess we got.
Steve, but I just
SWOT analysis.
when Toban asked you, and I just wanted to see how you guys rolled with this, because I really loved it, and especially your approach. So Toban asked, should I do controlled traffic on my farm? He asked you, and I loved your approach. It wasn't yes. It was like, I got to get to know your farm and your needs. Do you have drainage issues? Yep. I think from an extension perspective, I just thought that was a perfect case study in how to do extension with a goal to connect first and see what the need is before you prescribe. I really liked it, and it wasn't a long conversation, but I just thought that was a perfect case study in how to do it. So nicely done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's taken some years. Maybe early days. I don't quite remember, but maybe early days I might have been a little more opinionated. It's not really my nature, but yeah, you know what? Yeah. People are pretty matter of fact with other people's business, as in you should do this, and then all of a sudden it's a disaster. Well, that's not great for the other person. The other person, making the recommendation can walk away, and no skin off their back, but somebody else could be put in harm's way. That's the last thing I'd want to do. I think that there's always room to understand where people want to go, where they want to get to, and then start peeling back. Well, how do we get there? That's kind of the natural process for me anyway.
Exactly. I love that, which is why that in person is so critical. And it almost has to, if you're going to do it the best possible way, it's that one-on-one, take the time, find out what the needs and motivations are, and see how you might help. I want to go back to you're the chair of Nuffield Canada.
Yeah.
If I said that right.
Correct.
The board. What would you want to do next with Nuffield? You're just back at it. You renewed your position. What's the next step to make it even better or more effective? Yeah.
So the first 2 years we're 75 years old. So it's a 75-year-old charity. It's incredible. And it's got a very rich history. So, but with that, over time, things can get complicated, or you need to, kind of rebuild some areas of the foundation where, you know what, if we really want to take this to another level, we need to work on, let's say, policy. And that was a big part of it. So the way we made decisions, we spent a tremendous amount of work. You can imagine with the introduction of AI and we have a 40-page report. So we have to figure out what the AI policy is, what our reports should look like. Because over time, are they fit for purpose? Like, do people want to read a 100-page report? Do people want to read a 5,000-word report? So there were a lot of decisions that we had to make that we didn't have clear policy on, and we do now. So we did a ton of heavy lifting in the last 2 years, and it's been great. We'll never finish the strategic plan because it's a living document, but we went through the process of building out our strategic plan. So now it's about implementing it. So we've got some key pillars, one of them being communication. So communications to the public, communications to our alumni, to potential scholars, and to stakeholders. So in the next 2 years, I want to bring a lot more awareness to Nuffield Canada and the opportunity that it brings to Canadian agriculture. Like I really, if I could get, like we award 4 to 6 a year, which isn't a lot. I mean, maybe we might get to 10 at some point, 15. I don't know. But because funding is difficult, because it depends on the topic. You have to marry, you have to find people who want to invest in us. Because traditionally, we were always finding an investor that matched the topic. So you could have a really good scholar with a really great topic, but no funding for them, which is really sad. So we've kind of changed our stakeholder relations, or our financing structure, if you want to call it that. But on top of that, it really is about communicating and getting the word out to how amazing this opportunity is for farms. If you want to get something done, ask the busy person. That's cliche, right? Well, everybody thinks they don't have time to do a Nuffield scholarship. But if you're between the ages of 25 and even, we take up to 65-year-old. If you are still passionate and gung-ho and ready to give her, I mean, the doors are open. So I think I would love to find a way to get more farmers in the door, because that's where we have the greatest impact. Those who are agri-entrepreneurs or agribusiness people or farmers, if we can get them in the door to apply and show them what's possible, man, you build things from the ground up, and all of a sudden across Canada, we'd have a whole bunch of people doing really great things and actually doing. Because it's great to think and it's great to, to discuss. But when you can find the individuals, because we select them based on, curiosity and open-mindedness and generosity, volunteering, that sort of thing, we find people who are both thinkers and doers. Because when you find those, like yourselves, things get done, right? So that's what we want to find. Find those individuals, get them to apply, and send them off. So
right on.
I like it. That's great. Well, yeah. We'll help how we can in terms of the communications.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Steve, when we asked you if you would be on this podcast, was there something that you wrote down that you really wanted to say that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
Yes, it actually was about extension. Since I have an audience, I'm global now, with the Extensionists, you find.
Of course. Yeah.
I want to let everybody know how important extensionists are. It's like, whether it comes to, like, I'll speak to ag specifically. So whether it comes to like ag tech adoption, systems adoption, farming practices, policies, like even applying for funding, we need the extension people in the room. Like they're gone. They've been gone for a long time. Like maybe there's some provinces that maybe do it well. I don't know. I don't know of any other provinces that do extension well. There might be some that I'm not aware of, but they're the missing piece of adoption to whatever you want adopted. Doesn't matter whether it's implementing policy or practices or ideas, innovations, all that hinges on extension. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. Yeah, I want everybody to be.
I like that.
Yeah, let's get them.
We're going to use that in our next promo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get the extensionists back on the payroll. Let's go.
Right on. Well, thanks a lot, Steve. It's
great
to talk again.
This is a great conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey there, listeners. If you're enjoying the conversations here on The Extensionists, you will probably love to get our newsletter.
Yeah, it's the best way to stay connected with us, with Jay and myself, yours truly. I'm excited about the newsletter, to be honest with you, because I think...
Why are you excited about
so many of our guests have...
Sorry, why are you excited about it?
Say that differently, Jay. So many of our guests they say so many things of interest, right? And I feel like the newsletter will be a great way to share that with our listeners.
Like quick take-homes?
Yeah.
Summaries?
Yeah, absolutely.
One-liners?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think about each guest, we could probably write a whole bunch of articles from each of our guests, right? So to give our newsletter subscribers like summaries of, the key takeaways of these things, plus information on upcoming guests, all the listeners have to do is go to theextensionists.com and follow the prompts to sign up for the newsletter. I think it'll be great. That was great.
It was great. What were my takeaways? I mean, just
I didn't even ask a question. You're just looking at me. Yes, Jay, what were your takeaways?
I could just do this closing on my own. No, no, but I mentioned it to both of you guys, and I really liked how when you asked him that, should I have controlled traffic farming on my farm? And then Steve just went right into sort of asking those probing questions, which I think are really essential to extension. So I think if people listen to that 2 or 3 minutes, I mean, it's a great way to have a conversation about farming practices and what to get at what the need is before you start prescribing any sort of fix. Yeah.
I think what was interesting about that too, which, I'm sure the recording shows, is that I wasn't actually anticipating that response, because I fumbled through answering that question. Yeah. Because I was not expecting him to answer my question the way he did.
Why weren't you expecting that?
I was expecting either kind of a jokey, absolutely, everybody should be doing it, or something else, but not to return it with a question to me. That just was completely not prepared for that.
Because you've never had that experience before.
Right. So when you were going on about it, just going on and on about it, I was thinking, yeah, you're right, because I obviously intuitively was not expecting that kind of response from that question. So you're right. You were right to point it out. I liked that a lot.
Well, I think the fact that you weren't expecting that maybe underlines a problem in how we talk about farming products and solutions.
Yeah.
There's never, it's just like, oh yeah, that you should buy this.
Of course, it's the newest thing, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
But also, like, interesting that so few people know about Nuffield. Yeah. Like these reports that come out,
Yeah.
And
so is that our problem, or is that Nuffield's problem? Because like Steve said, one of his next goals is to work on communications of the results and how to get that out into the hands of more farmers.
I think it's certainly as an owner of a company who does extension, like I see it as like not our problem or his problem, but he's busy, so he doesn't likely, like, the capacity might not be there for him to think about all the options, right? So it's an opportunity for his group to maybe help with that, right? And like add that capacity, give some ideas, help him kind of help Nuffield get those reports seen. But I like the idea of a TED Talk, kind of like a YouTube channel, right? Or
I think that, like, I just feel like that would be more effective. Honestly, I wonder how many 40-page reports ever get read by anyone. I was flipping through and it was total chance because I had a stack of stuff by my desk, but I had that report that we got from that extension conference in Guelph in October. And I was flipping through this very thick program, and the whole back half of it is like a whole report that the host wrote about extension. And I wonder how many people read it. I still haven't read it. I know it exists.
I always think about The Economist, like that as a magazine, right?
Yeah.
So Jamie and I have gone through spells where we subscribe.
Yeah.
We feel very smart, right? So we get this thing once a week, right? And it's dense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still once a week, but it would just like accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. So you have all these things that you intend to read, but you just never do. And I don't know. We're almost out of time for our outro. So this is a big topic.
Yeah. Like what the effort you put into something, what's going to be the most bang for those hours? And I feel like I think you need the 40-page report because that compiles your thoughts, but that cannot be your communication tool because your thoughts are going to die within that report and the 3 people who read it.
Yeah, and so somewhere between that, the 40-page report, and like the 3 bullet point key takeaways, right? Somewhere between there is maybe a sweet spot, or
all of those. Things.
I was gonna say, or it's all of those things, because that's a big one.
Well, I guess that sets up for future podcasts.
It does. Like we have our guest list for season 3, so that's fantastic. Yeah. But that was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
This has been the Extensionists podcast. I'm Jay Whetter.
And I'm Toban Dyck.
Till next time. This has been a Burr Forest Group production.
We also want to thank the people working behind the scenes to make this podcast happen.
Abby Wall is our producer and editor.
Ashley Robinson is our coordinator.
And Michelle Holden is our designer.